Hey guys, Adam here. Today we are going to build a RaceLogic Overlay for iRacing. If you are an ACC driver, you already get a RaceLogic timer in the car. You could still use this. You'd have to change some of the properties that I'm going to be putting in here because this is going to be iRacing specific today. Some of these properties don't work with ACC, but you can easily change them out. So I'm going to go through how I created what I did so far, and then I'm going to show you how you can go ahead and modify this to add anything additional you want, and then rock and roll. Use it. Let me know how you use it. Let me know what you added to it, because I'm always curious to see what everybody's doing with my creations. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I've got SimHub open already. I filtered on my RaceLogic. We're going to hit more and edit dashboard. And of course, there will be a link to the Google Drive where you can go ahead and download this. So now what I've done, I'm going to hide this first. So the first thing I did was I just Googled RaceLogic lap timer. I went ahead and found a face-on image. I downloaded it. I cleaned it up a little bit in Photoshop, and then I imported that cleaned up image into SimHub. You can import images using the Images tab here in the upper right-hand corner. Just click Add Image. A File Explorer window opens up, and you can then just pull in whatever you want for this dashboard. The other thing I did was I kind of took a pixel measurement of the RaceLogic timer that exists in ACC cars, and I kind of came up with about 732 by 298 pixels. Seemed about right. It's a little bigger than the one that does exist in ACC. You can adjust this and change the size if you'd like to better suit your preferences, but that's what I came up with. And the other thing I did, because I'm going to use this as an overlay on the dashboard tab, I changed the background color to be transparent. This way, when I open this up as an overlay, I don't see that black background that is there by default. So I've imported my RaceLogic image. The other thing I did, because when I imported that image from RaceLogic, or the image of the RaceLogic, it had this timer already here on there. Now, I did not remove that in Photoshop because I wanted to make sure that if anybody follows this process, you don't need Photoshop to do this. You could have cleaned this up in MS Paint, but I left this part because then what I did is I just took a regular rectangle from SimHub, gave it a black background, no border, but I radiused the corners, and then boom, there we go. I covered it up. The other thing I did was I then put a text box over the top of that, and I made that text box a widget. And the reason I did that is sort of twofold. One, because when it's a widget, if I go to copy additional pages to scroll through, every single page will now be the same size by default, and I don't have to constantly edit a bunch of stuff. Number two, as a widget, it lets me cycle through pages. Remember, a widget in SimHub is essentially another dashboard that has multiple pages you can scroll through. So here's my timer pages widget, and if you want to modify anything on this, all you have to do is click the edit widget button. It's going to open in a new tab up here. Right now, I'm on the first page of this timer widget, and the first one has just two properties. It's got a current lap time, and it's got another text box that just lets me know what page of the RaceLogic timer I'm on. For the second page, I did estimated lap time, and for the third page, I did gap to the driver ahead. So now what I want to do is I want to add a fourth page, and we can reorder these pages. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do here when we go in. So now all we want to do, if you want to create a new page and you want to follow this existing format, all you have to do is just highlight one of these and right click and hit duplicate. And for this page, we're going to call it Delta. And I want to slide it up. So I want Delta to be the second page on this. You can slide these around to be in any order you want. It's entirely up to you. But now we're going to go to our Delta page. And what we want to do is we want to first edit this text box here, this bottom text box. And I just want it to read Delta. That's all we're going to do. Now we're going to click on this current lap time. We're going to double click it a second time so that we can rename it Delta Timer. Now we're going to come down here to where it says text. We're going to click this function box that is already green because I've got an encalc function related to this. And right now, I don't know if you can see this, especially if you're watching this on a phone. It's going to be difficult, but it's just the current lap time property under the encalc computed formula. But all I want to do is I want to clear that out. I'm going to type open brackets. We're going to type in Delta, and that's going to bring up all of the available properties in SimHub that are related to Delta. Now, we've got two options by default that I highly recommend. As you can see as we scroll through this list, now I've got some plugins. I've got the Gary Swallow. I've got Romain Rob's plugin. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff, but anything that says persistent tracker to previous lap, these are iRacing and SimHub properties. These are all there by default. But really, I just want to go back up to the top and I want to do Delta to all-time best or Delta to session best. Now, it's been my experience in iRacing that I am not an alien driver. So I always want to compare myself to all-time best. Changes in track temps don't affect my lap times enough to where I need to be focused more on session best because I'm just not that fast of a driver. I like to always compare to my all-time best. So that's what we're going to double click. And then we are going to click OK, and boom, there we go. We now have a Delta timer. So what we're going to do is we're going to click File and Save. Since we've added a new page to this widget, we want to save our work. We're going to close out this tab. We're going to File, Save one more time. And now what you want to make sure to do is you're going to want to click on this Timer Pages widget so that it's highlighted. And then come down here to the bottom of this menu where you'll see that under the miscellaneous menu. And you're going to see next screen and previous screen command. Now I have it set for next and previous because I have two buttons mapped to my wheel for next and previous screen. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and make sure that you have that set to either dash action A through D or next and previous. Once you've done that, we can close this out. Now, while we're still in Dash Studio, go to the USB-D 480. You can also do this on the Vocore. You can also do this in settings. It's entirely up to you where you want to do it. However, I highly recommend doing it in settings in this instance because I'm going to run this RaceLogic timer as an overlay because I'm not running it on a USB-D or a Vocore. I'm running it here. So what you want to do is you just want to come down to the default controls menu, show next dash screen, click change. I'm going to map a button here. We're going to click save, show previous. Damn it. There we go. Change. I'm gonna press my button there. It's the same that I already had mapped. We'll click save and there we go. So now let's go back to our dashboards menu. Now you can run this as a dashboard, you can run it windowed, but what happens when you run it windowed is even though we made that background transparent in a windowed dashboard in SimHub, you still get the black background. One of the convenient things of windowed is if you don't have buttons mapped to scroll through like I'm doing now, you can come over here to the lower left-hand corner and you can just click really quickly. I don't recommend taking your hand off the wheel to grab a mouse to click to change this. So if you do have buttons available to map, please map them. It's easier. But as a windowed dashboard, we get this black background that I don't want. It takes away from the immersion. So we're going to close this. We're going to come over to the More menu, and we are going to convert it to an overlay. Now, the link that I will have in the Google Drive will already be converted as an overlay. You can edit this just like you would a dashboard if it's an overlay. If you want to convert it from an overlay back to a dashboard, when you're in the Overlay tab, you will just see Convert to Dashboard instead of Convert to Overlay. So there we go. I've clicked that. It takes a moment. SimHub is converting it. And now we can come over here to our overlay tab and we can see our RaceLogic overlay here. So now what we need to do in order to run this as an overlay is we need to click the new overlay layout. And I want to make sure for this purpose, hide when not in race is unchecked. If you leave hide when not in race checked, it is very cool to have, because when you're just out of the car in the garage making some setup changes, you don't see your overlays cluttering up the screen anymore. So I like to uncheck that for this purpose. So we're going to hit add overlay. We want to scroll down. There is our RaceLogic lap timer. We're going to hit add. We're going to hit OK, and then we're just going to slide this over to my other monitor. We're going to move this where I want it. I want it down here about this corner. While we're in the layout editor, let me move this back over. You can slide this wherever you want, but once you've got it set in the position that you want it, click Save Layout, name it what you want. I'm naming it RaceLogic for my layout, and I'm clicking Save. And now we can just go ahead and close that out. So we're done with the layout editor. We're going to come back up here to the top. All of your saved overlay layouts are going to be at the top. We're going to click load, and boom. There you go. So now it says waiting for the game. If we click hide when not in race, you can see that the logic timer disappears. If we uncheck that, it's back. We're going to move that out of our way, and boom. There we go. Lower left-hand corner, we have our RaceLogic timer. And because I have buttons mapped, even though I am not in the sim, I'm not in iRacing, I can still scroll through, and then once we get into the game, you'll start to see the telemetry data be displayed right there on our RaceLogic timer. So there you have it. It's pretty quick and simple to edit. If I wasn't clear enough, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to help you out as best as I can. Or maybe I will just take down this video and refilm it if something was really confusing, and I'll post up a newer version. But that's all I've got for today. Click the Google link down in the description below. Go ahead and download this, modify it however you wish, add what you want. Let me know what you add. Let me know what you want to see next out of some SimHub creations. I kind of ran out of ideas here for a little bit, and now I don't know what I want to make next. So if there's something you want me to make and create a video on how I did it and share it with the world, I am more than happy to do that. But until next time, thank you.